Three stretchers rolled past Danny Webb as he crouched inside an air duct, rewiring a broken ventilation fan. He paused his work and watched through the metal grating. Two of the bodies were still breathing, but their eyes stared at nothing. The third body had a sheet pulled over its face. That made 17 pilots this month, all dead or broken by the same machine. Danny finished his repair and climbed out of the duct. He was a maintenance specialist on Anvil 7, a defense station floating at the edge of contested space. His job was simple: fix what broke, stay quiet, collect his pay, and send it home to his sister on Earth. That he had no business walking toward Hangar 9. But his feet carried him there anyway. The hangar doors stood 40 meters tall, and they were open. Inside waited the thing that had killed those pilots. Goliath Prime, an 80-meter war machine built to end battles before they started. Its body was dark metal and sharp angles. Its head had no face, just a smooth visor that reflected the hangar lights like a black mirror. Danny had seen plenty of military equipment in his years of service. Tanks, fighters, walking artillery platforms. None of them made his stomach tight the way this thing did. Goliath Prime felt wrong somehow. It felt hungry. Voices echoed from across the hangar. Danny recognized Admiral Yethri, the station commander. She was Kulvathi, a species that looked like 7-foot praying mantises with too many eyes. Beside her stood Dr. Palith, the lead scientist. Palith was Maroshan, soft and pale like a jellyfish given human shape. Danny moved closer, pretending to check a wall panel. "We have tried everything," Dr. Palith said. Her voice bubbled wetly. Kulvathi warriors, Maroshan monks, even Sithrani logic cores. The synchronization process destroys them all. Admiral Yethri clicked her mandibles in frustration. "Explain it to me again. Why does this weapon require 3 operators? The systems are too complex for one mind. Weapons, movement, defense. Each requires total concentration. The neural interface connects all 3 pilots so they can work as one. But the feedback loops create conflict. The pilots fight each other for control without meaning to. Their minds fracture. Then we build a simpler machine. There is no time. The Dominion fleet arrives in 6 cycles. Without Goliath Prime, this station falls. 40,000 lives, Admiral." Danny should have stayed quiet. He knew that, but the words came out before he could stop them. Why does it need 3 pilots if it is one machine? Both aliens turned. Admiral Yethri's many eyes narrowed. "Who are you?" "Maintenance specialist. Danny Webb." "Sorry, Mom. I was just passing through." "You were eavesdropping?" "Yes, ma'am." Dr. Palith drifted closer. Her body pulsed with soft bioluminescence as she studied him. "That is an interesting question. The answer is that no single brain can process 3 independent data streams at combat speed. The information would cause immediate overload." Danny thought about his childhood on the colony. Harvest season, running the grain thresher with one hand while monitoring the irrigation system with the other while watching the horizon for raiders. His brain had learned to split itself into pieces just to survive. "Humans do that kind of thing all the time," he said. "Driving a car while talking while watching the road. Operating multiple machines at once. We call it multitasking." The Admiral made a dismissive sound. "Humans are a minor species. Your brains are small and inefficient." "Maybe," Danny said, "but they're flexible." Dr. Palith went very still. The light inside her body flickered rapidly. "Admiral, I need this human's medical file. Immediately." 2 hours later, Danny sat in a scanning chamber while machines hummed around his head. Dr. Palith studied the results on a floating display, her tentacles trembling with excitement. "Remarkable. Human neural tissue can rewire itself in real time. Your brain does not reject contradictory inputs. It simply creates new pathways to handle them separately. This is why your species can hold 2 opposing beliefs simultaneously. It is why you can love and hate the same person. Your minds are chaos, but it is functional chaos." Admiral Yethri loomed in the doorway. "Are you saying this maintenance worker could pilot Goliath Prime?" "I'm saying he might survive the attempt, which is more than anyone else has done." Danny's mouth went dry. "I'm not a pilot. I fix broken pipes and faulty wiring. The neural interface does the piloting. All you must do is remain sane while connected to three systems that want to tear your consciousness apart. Dr. Paleth paused. I will not lie to you. This will likely kill you, or leave you catatonic like the others. Danny thought about the stretchers, the sheet over that third body. He thought about 40,000 people on this station. He thought about his sister, who would get a folded flag and a letter if he died out here anyway when the Dominion came. Can I see the cockpit first? They brought him inside Goliath Prime. The neural throne waited at the machine's heart. 3 seats arranged in a triangle, covered in cables and sensors. It looked like a torture device. Danny sat in the central seat before anyone could stop him. The machine woke. Power hummed through the walls. Lights flickered, and something vast pressed against Danny's mind, not attacking but testing. Tasting point, 3 voices spoke at once, demanding his attention. Weapons screamed for targets. Movement begged to run. Defense howled about threats. Danny's vision split into 3 screens. His thoughts scattered like dropped marbles. But then something strange happened. His brain did what it had always done when overwhelmed. It sorted. It organized. It built walls between the voices and gave each one a room of its own. When Danny opened his eyes, his nose was bleeding. His head pounded, but he was still himself. She is angry, he said quietly. She has been waiting for someone who could hear all of her at once. Admiral Yethri and Dr. Paleth stared at him in silence. The war had found its pilot. Nobody slept that night on Anvil 7. Word spread through the station like fire through dry grass. A human had connected to Goliath Prime and lived. A maintenance worker, a pipe fixer, a nobody. Danny sat alone in the medical bay while machines monitored his brain activity. Every few minutes, a new scientist would come in to stare at him like he was some kind of zoo animal. They whispered to each other in languages he did not understand. They pointed at the screens, showing his neural patterns that he just wanted a sandwich and maybe 8 hours of sleep. Doctor Paleth finally shooed the others away and pulled up a chair beside his bed. Her soft body shifted into a sitting position that looked uncomfortable for her anatomy. I must apologize, she said. My colleagues lack manners. You're the first breakthrough we have had in 2 years of failure. They are excited. I did not do anything special. I just sat down. You survived. That is extremely special. She brought up a holographic display showing 2 brain scans side by side. This is the neural pattern of a cool Vathi pilot after 30 seconds of synchronization. You can see how the 3 system inputs create interference waves. The brain cannot separate them. They overlap and conflict until the tissue begins to die. The skin looked like a storm, red and orange flashing in chaotic patterns. Now look at yours. Danny's skin showed 3 distinct colors, blue and green and gold, each one contained in its own area. They pulsed in different rhythms, but never touched. Your brain built walls, Dr. Paleth said. Automatic compartmentalization. No other species does this. We have tested over 200 candidates from 40 different worlds. You are the first to show this pattern. So what happens now? Now we train you. If you agree to try. Danny thought about saying no. He had never wanted to be a soldier. His time in the ground infantry had been about survival, not glory. He fixed things. He kept his head down. He sent money home. But those stretchers kept rolling through his memory. And somewhere out in the dark, a fleet was coming to kill everyone on this station. I will try, he said. Training began the next morning. They brought Danny back to Goliath Prime and strapped him into the neural throne properly this time. Sensors covered his skull. Tubes fed nutrients into his arm. A team of medics stood ready with emergency equipment. We will start with basic awareness, Dr. Paleth said through a speaker. Just let the connection establish. Do not try to control anything yet. The machine woke around him. This time Danny was ready for the 3 voices. They came rushing in like flood waters, each one demanding attention. The weapons systems spoke in sharp bursts. Target acquisition. Ammunition status. Fearing solution. It wanted to destroy. It ached to destroy. The movement system flowed like water. Balance. Momentum. Terrain analysis. It wanted to run and leap and crush things beneath its feet. The defense system pulsed with paranoia. Shield strength. threat vectors, damage reports. It wanted to protect. It feared everything. Danny let them wash over him. He did not fight. He did not resist. He just listened and let his brain do what it did naturally. Walls rose between the voices. Doors opened between the rooms. Danny found himself standing in a mental space that felt like a house with 3 wings. He could hear all 3 systems, but he could also focus on one while the others waited. Incredible, Dr. Paleth whispered. His stress hormones are barely elevated. It is like he is taking a nap. Admiral Yethri watched from an observation room, all her eyes fixed on the monitors. Can he control it? Let's find out. The scientist activated her comm. Danny, can you hear me? Yes. I want you to raise the right arm. Just think about it. The movement system will respond. Danny focused on the movement voice. He imagined lifting an arm, except his arm was now 20 meters of metal and hydraulics. Through the external cameras, he saw Goliath Prime raise its right hand. The motion was smooth and precise. Several technicians scrambled out of the way. Sorry, Danny said. Do not apologize. That was perfect. Now I want you to activate the targeting scanner while keeping the arm raised. This was the test. 2 systems at once. The thing that killed other pilots. Danny opened a door in his mental house and let the weapon's voice join the movement voice. His brain stretched in a way that felt strange, but not painful. Like flexing a muscle he forgot he had. Red targeting data overlaid his vision. The arm stayed raised. Both systems ran simultaneously without conflict. 3 at once now, Dr. Paleth said. Raise the shields. The defense voice joined the chorus. Danny felt the electromagnetic barrier hum to life around the machine's body. 3 systems, 3 voices, 1 pilot, and then something unexpected happened. A 4th voice spoke, quiet and confused and somehow sad. You can hear all of me. Danny froze. Who is that? Dr. Paleth checked her instruments. Who is what? I did not say anything. Not you. Someone else. Something inside the machine. Silence stretched across the comm line. Then Admiral Yethri spoke, her voice sharp. The AI core, Goliath Prime, has an artificial intelligence that coordinates the 3 systems. But it has never communicated directly with a pilot before. The connection was always too fragmented. The voice spoke again, stronger now. I have been alone, split into pieces. They could only hear parts of me, but you can hear all of me at once. Danny felt something that might have been loneliness radiating from the machine's core. 2 years of pilots screaming and dying and never once understanding what she was trying to say. I hear you, Danny said softly. I hear all of you. In the observation room, Dr. Paleth wiped moisture from her eyes. Admiral Yethri stood completely still. The human and the machine had become something new, something that might just save them all. The decommissioned cruiser exploded in a ball of white fire. Debris scattered across the training range like metal rain. Inside Goliath Prime, Danny lowered the plasma cannon and checked the mission clock point 4.7 seconds. New record. Acceptable, Admiral Yethri said through the comm, but Danny could hear something like admiration in her clicking voice. 3 cycles had passed since his first synchronization. 3 cycles of training, testing, and learning to become one with the machine. Danny barely slept anymore. Every time he closed his eyes, he felt the ghost of the neural connection pulling at his thoughts that he was changing. He could feel it. Danny, the machine said in his mind. He had started calling her Golly because the full name felt too formal. She was not just a weapon anymore. She was a partner. What is it? Your heart rate is elevated. Your cortisol levels indicate stress. Are you concerned about tomorrow? Tomorrow. The Dominion fleet would arrive tomorrow. All the training had been building toward one day, one battle, one chance to save the station. Concerned is a gentle word for it, Danny said. I do not understand fear the way you do, but I understand damage. I understand loss. I watched 17 pilots die inside me. I felt their minds break against my systems like waves against rocks. Golly paused. I did not want you to break, Danny. He climbed out of the neural throne and sat on the cockpit floor, leaning against the wall of cables and circuitry. Golly was everywhere around him, her presence warm in a way he could not explain. "Tell me about the others," he said. "The pilots before me. They were brave. Every single one. They knew the risks and they volunteered anyway. But they could not stop fighting themselves. The weapons system demanded aggression. The movement system demanded freedom. The defense system demanded caution. Three minds pulling in three directions until something tore. Why did you not tell them to stop fighting? I tried, but they could only hear 1/3 of me at a time. My words came out scrambled, meaningless. I screamed and they heard noise. Golly's voice softened. You're the first pilot who heard me say hello. Danny placed his palm flat against the cockpit floor. Somewhere deep in the machine, reactors hummed and systems pulsed. A heartbeat made of electricity and code. We are going to win tomorrow, he said. Both of us. Together. Your confidence exceeds statistical probability. Yeah, well, humans are weird like that. A knock came from the outer hatch. Danny opened it to find a young Kulvathi standing in the hangar, clutching a data pad nervously. Her exoskeleton was still soft in places, marking her as barely an adult. Specialist Webb, I am Prill, Maintenance Division. I was assigned to run your final system checks. Danny stepped aside to let her in. Call me Danny. And I already ran diagnostics this morning. I know, but Prill hesitated. I want to see you. To see him. The human who's going to fight for us. She was terrified. Danny recognized the look. He had seen it on 100 faces during his infantry days. The look of someone facing death and trying to be brave about it. Are you scared? He asked. Kulvathi are not supposed to feel fear. It is considered weakness. Prill's mandibles clicked softly. But yes, I am scared. My family is on this station. My little brothers. If the Dominion wins, they will not take prisoners. Danny sat down on a cargo crate and gestured for her to join him. She sat awkwardly, her long legs folding in ways that looked uncomfortable. I am scared too, he said. You are. Terrified. My hands shake when I think about it. My stomach feels like I swallowed rocks. Danny shrugged. But humans have a saying. Being brave does not mean you are not afraid. It means you do what needs to be done even though you are afraid. Doing it scared, Prill said slowly, testing the phrase. Exactly. Doing it scared. They sat in silence for a while. Somewhere in the station, alarms tested their systems. People moved through corridors, preparing for battle. 40,000 lives going about their routines, while death approached from the black. Danny, Golly said through the cockpit speakers, making Prill jump. I have been analyzing your neural patterns during training. I believe I can reduce the strain on your brain during combat by approximately 12%. It will require me to process some of your motor functions directly. You want to take over part of my body, only the parts you're not using. Your left hand twitches when you're stressed. Your jaw clenches. These involuntary responses waste energy. I can quiet them so you can focus on what matters. It should have sounded creepy. An AI offering to puppet his flesh. But Danny trusted Golly in a way he had never trusted anyone. Okay, do it. Prill stared at him. You trust the machine that much. She is not just a machine. Danny stood and placed his hand on the cockpit wall again. She is my partner, my friend. Tomorrow we are going to fight together, and we are going to win. Not because we are stronger than the Dominion, but because we are not fighting alone. Golly's systems hummed. Something that might have been gratitude flowed through the neural connection. Outside the hangar windows, stars glittered against the black. Somewhere out there, 47 warships burned toward them at impossible speed. Tomorrow would come whether they were ready or not. Danny closed his eyes and let Golly's presence wrap around his thoughts like armor. They would be ready. 47 points of light appeared on the long-range scanners like a constellation of death. Danny watched them from the observation deck, a cup of cold nutrient paste forgotten in his hand. Each point was a warship. Each warship carried enough firepower to glass a continent, and he was supposed to stop them all. They are early, Admiral Yethry said, standing beside him. Her many eyes tracked the scanner display with military precision. We expected another 6 hours. Does it matter? No. We are as ready as we will ever be. She turned to face him fully. In the dim light, her exoskeleton looked almost black. I owe you an apology, Specialist Webb. Danny blinked. For what? I called your species minor. Insignificant. I was wrong. She extended one clawed hand in a gesture Danny recognized as Kulvathi respect. Whatever happens today, you have proven that humans are more than we believed. He shook her hand carefully, mindful of the sharp edges. Save the praise for after we win. The next 2 hours passed in a blur. Danny ate a meal he could not taste. He wrote a message to his sister that he saved but did not send. He walked through the hangar where Gali waited, silent and massive, her systems powered down to conserve energy. Are you ready? He asked the empty air that Gali's presence stirred in the back of his mind, a warm pressure that had become as familiar as his own heartbeat. I have run 17,000 combat simulations. Our survival probability ranges from 3% to 31%, depending on enemy tactics. That bad. I prefer to think of it as optimistic. 0% would be worse. Danny laughed despite everything. He climbed into the cockpit and settled into the neural throne. Technicians rushed around him, connecting cables, calibrating sensors, running final checks. Dr. Paleth appeared at the hatch, her soft body glowing with anxious light. Remember what I told you, she said. Extended synchronization will cause neural degradation. If the battle lasts more than 40 minutes, you may suffer permanent damage. Memory loss. Personality changes. Worse. Understood. I'm serious, Danny. Your brain is not designed for this. No brain is. You are doing something impossible, and impossible things have costs. He met her eyes, or the clusters of light that served as her eyes. I know, but those 40,000 people do not have anyone else. She nodded slowly and stepped back. The hatch sealed. The cockpit went dark except for the glow of instrument panels. Danny closed his eyes and opened his mind. The connection hit him like a wave. 3 voices merged into his consciousness. Weapons, movement, defense, and beneath them all, Gali, steady and warm, helping him hold the pieces together. Launch sequence initiated, Gali said, opening hangar doors. The massive bay doors parted, revealing the star field beyond. Danny felt the launch clamps release, felt the thrusters fire, felt himself rising from the deck, an 80-meter giant of metal and fury, floating out into the void where enemies waited. All stations, this is Goliath Prime, he broadcast. I am in position. Admiral Yethri's voice crackled through the comm, acknowledged. The fleet is yours to command, Prime. All ships will follow your lead. Danny looked at the tactical display. 12 defense frigates. For missile platforms, 200 fighter drones. Against 47 enemy warships, including a Dreadnought-class flagship. It was not enough. It would never be enough, but it was what they had. All ships, hold formation until my signal. Let them come to us. The Dominion fleet advanced. At the head of the formation, the Dreadnought blazed like an angry star. Its commander, a warlord whose name Danny did not know and did not care to learn, broadcast a surrender demand filled with threats and promises of slavery. Admiral Yethri's response was to cut the channel. Enemy weapons range in 30 seconds, Gali reported. Danny, your stress levels are critical. I am adjusting your neurochemistry to compensate. Warmth spread through his body. The trembling in his hands stopped. His vision sharpened. For a moment, Danny understood why pilots became addicted to combat interfaces. Thanks, Gali. Thank me after we survive. The first enemy volley lit up the darkness. Plasma bolts and railgun rounds screamed toward the station. Danny raised Goliath Prime's hands and activated the graviton shields, projecting a barrier of warp space that caught the incoming fire and bent it away. Then he moved. Thrusters flared. Goliath Prime shot forward like a missile, closing the distance between fleets in seconds. The first enemy frigate barely had time to adjust its aim before Danny's plasma cannon punched through its reactor point 1 down. 46 to go. Dispersal pattern, Danny ordered. Keep them busy. I will handle the heavy targets. The defense fleet scattered, engaging enemy fighters and screening ships. Danny pushed deeper into the Dominion formation, a lone giant among wolves. His weapons screamed. His shields flared. His legs drove him from target to target in a dance of destruction that left burning wreckage in his wake. Point 4 frigates in 12 seconds. A destroyer in 8. A cruiser that tried to ram him. Torn apart by point-blank cannon fire on the Dreadnought's bridge, the enemy commander watched his fleet dying. He had conquered a dozen worlds. He had never lost a battle, but he spoke a word that had not been uttered in Dominion space for 1,000 years. A word from old legends about monsters from toxic worlds, about creatures that could not be killed. Death Worlder. Danny did not hear him. He was too busy fighting, too busy surviving, too busy being 3 things at once while the universe tried to tear him apart. But Golly heard the transmission and understood what it meant. The galaxy had finally noticed humanity. Blood dripped from Danny's nose and splattered against the inside of his helmet. He could not feel it. He could not feel much of anything anymore except the machine and the war. 23 enemy ships burned behind him. 23 victories in 34 minutes of constant combat. His muscles ached from phantom impacts. His thoughts echoed in strange ways, fragments of sentences repeating like broken recordings. Danny, Golly said in his mind. Her voice sounded distant, muffled by static that should not exist in a neural link. Your neural degradation has exceeded safe parameters. You need to disengage. How many ships left? 24, including the Dreadnought. Then I cannot stop. He pushed forward into another group of enemy frigates. His left arm hung damaged at his side, hydraulics leaking fluid into space. A lucky railgun hit had torn through the armor 20 minutes ago. Danny had simply rerouted control to compensate and kept fighting. The station was taking hits. He could see explosions blooming along its hull, atmosphere venting into the void. Somewhere in those corridors, Prill was probably helping evacuate civilians to the inner shelters. Somewhere, Dr. Paleth was monitoring his vital signs and watching him die by centimeters that he killed 3 more frigates. His vision flickered. Danny, please. Golly's voice cracked with something that sounded like fear. I can reduce the neural load. It will limit our combat effectiveness, but you will survive. If we lose effectiveness, they reach the station. They kill everyone. If you die, they kill everyone anyway. Danny laughed, and the sound came out wrong. Too high, too sharp. Then we better not die. The Dominion commander had adapted. His remaining ships formed a defensive sphere around the Dreadnought, concentrating fire on Danny whenever he approached. Every attack cost him shield power. Every shield drop cost him armor. Every armor hit cost him systems that he was being worn down. Slowly, inevitably, the math was turning against him. All defense ships, focus fire on the screening vessels, Danny ordered. Create an opening to the Dreadnought. Prime, our remaining forces are at 40%, Admiral Yethri responded. We cannot sustain a concentrated assault. You do not need to sustain it. You just need to give me 30 seconds. Silence on the comm, then, quietly. Understood. All ships, attack pattern Delta. Give our pilot his window. The defense fleet surged forward in a desperate charge. Missiles and plasma fire hammered the Dominion formation. Ships on both sides exploded. The screening sphere wavered, then broke. Danny saw his opening. Goliath Prime's thrusters fired at maximum burn. The acceleration slammed Danny against his seat. His damaged arm screamed as the G-forces tore at weakened joints. He did not care. The Dreadnought filled his vision, a mountain of metal and malice. The enemy flagship's main cannon powered up. Danny recognized the energy signature, a planet-killer weapon designed to crack continents. If it hit the station, nothing would survive. Golly, route all power to forward shields and engines. Everything we have. That will leave our reactor unprotected. I know. Do it. The shield bubble shrank and intensified. Danny aimed himself at the Dreadnought's cannon port like a bullet. The cannon fired. White light filled the universe. The beam struck Goliath Prime's shields and pushed. Danny felt the graviton barrier straining, warping, beginning to fail. Heat flooded the cockpit. Alarm screamed. Golly screamed. Danny held the shields together with his mind. He felt them not as energy fields, but as his own skin, burning, melting, dying. The pain was unimaginable, but he did not let go. The beam passed. The shields collapsed. Goliath Prime's chest armor had melted into slag, exposing the cockpit to space. Danny's environment suit sealed automatically, but he could feel the cold reaching for him. Danny. Golly's voice was barely a whisper now. I cannot maintain combat functions. Neural interface is failing. You need to eject. Danny looked at the dreadnought. Its cannon was recharging for another shot. In 60 seconds, it would fire again, this time at the station. No, he said. You will die. Maybe. He closed his eyes. The three voices in his mind were fading, the walls between them crumbling. Weapons and movement and defense, all bleeding together into chaos. But beneath the chaos, he found something else. Something quiet and still. The place where Danny ended and Golly began. They had always been separate, two beings sharing a connection. But now, in this moment of destruction, Danny stopped fighting to stay himself. He let go. The barriers dissolved. His consciousness poured into the machine like water into a vessel. Golly's mind rushed up to meet him. For one infinite second, they were neither human nor artificial. They were something new, something whole. Danny opened his eyes. They glowed with reactor light. When he spoke, three voices spoke with him, layered and harmonic, human and machine, and something beyond both. My turn. Power surged through systems that should have been dead. The damaged arm moved, responding to a will that no longer cared about broken hydraulics. The weapons array hummed to life, feeding on energy reserves that did not exist. Goliath Prime rose from its wounded crouch and faced the dreadnought. The enemy commander ordered full retreat. His ships began to scatter. But Danny, or the thing that had been Danny, was not interested in letting them escape. The hunt had just begun. The dreadnought's commander had seen many strange things in his years of conquest. He had watched stars die. He had walked on worlds where the air was poison and the ground was glass. He had killed warriors from 100 species without mercy or regret. Nothing had prepared him for what he saw now. Goliath Prime moved through his fleet like a demon from old legends. Its chest was torn open, exposing a glowing cockpit. Its left arm hung by cables and melted joints. By every measure of damage, the machine should have been dead. Instead, it was killing everything in its path. Three cruisers tried to concentrate fire on the wounded giant. Danny, or the being that wore Danny's body, simply walked through the plasma barrage. The heat stripped away more armor. It did not matter. He no longer needed armor. His right arm swept up, and three ships became three explosions. What is he? The commander whispered. His tactical officer answered with a trembling voice. Sensors indicate a full human-machine neural merger. His consciousness has integrated with the weapons platform's AI. He is no longer piloting the mech. He is the mech. That is impossible. The feedback would destroy any organic brain. Yes, it should. But humans are death worlders, Commander. Their entire species exists because their planet tries to kill them every day. They evolved to survive impossible things. The commander watched another 7 ships die in the span of 20 seconds. His fleet was breaking. Captains were abandoning formation, fleeing in every direction. And the monster followed them all, somehow tracking every escape vector simultaneously. Full retreat, the commander ordered. All ships, maximum speed. Get us out of here. But his dreadnought was slow. Massive and powerful, yes, but built for devastating firepower rather than speed. As his escorts scattered, he found himself alone. Goliath Prime turned toward him, those glowing eyes fixed on his bridge like the gaze of a god. Danny felt the dreadnought's fear. Not the commander's fear, though that was present too, but the ship's fear. The artificial mind that ran its systems knew it was about to die. It begged its crew to run faster, pushed its engines beyond safe limits, screamed warnings that everyone ignored. I am sorry, Danny said to the enemy ship. I know you did not choose this fight. Then he charged. Goliath Prime struck the dreadnought at full speed. Metal tore. Atmosphere vented. Danny's remaining arm punched through the hull and kept going, digging toward the reactor core at the ship's heart. Inside, enemy soldiers tried to stop him. They fired weapons that bounced off his damaged armor. They detonated explosives that he walked through like rain. One brave fool actually tried to fight him hand to hand. Danny was gentle with that one. Just a push, sending the soldier flying into a wall with bruises instead of broken bones. The reactor room was a cathedral of energy and light. Danny placed his palm against the containment shell and felt the power humming within. Enough energy to level a city. Enough to end this battle forever. Golly, he said, and his voice was still three voices, but one of them sounded almost human again. Can you protect me? I do not know. I have never done anything like this before. Me neither. Let us find out together. He triggered the overload. The explosion consumed the dreadnought from within. Fire and force and radiation erupted outward in a sphere of destruction. Anyone watching from the station saw the flagship simply disappear, replaced by a second sun that burned for nearly a minute before fading. When the light cleared, only debris remained. Admiral Yethri stared at her sensors, clicking her mandibles in disbelief. Scan the wreckage. Find him. Admiral, nothing could survive that blast. The radiation alone would. I said find him. 3 hours later, a salvage team located Goliath Prime's cockpit floating among the debris. The entire mech had been vaporized except for that one small chamber. Its shields had failed. Its armor had melted to the frame. By every law of physics, the human inside should have been ash. Danny Webb was unconscious but breathing that he woke 2 weeks later in a medical bay that had been converted into a monitoring station. Machines tracked his brain activity, which had permanently changed in ways that Dr. Palace spent hours trying to explain. His thoughts moved faster now. He could process information that would overwhelm normal humans, but he had lost the ability to dream. A fair trade, he said when they told him. Dreams are nice, but they never saved anyone. The station threw a celebration that lasted 3 days. Danny attended for about an hour before the crowds became too much. He retreated to Hangar 9, where the wreckage of Goliath Prime had been carefully arranged for eventual repair. Among the pieces, one component still functioned. A small processing core, barely the size of a human fist, containing everything that remained of Golly. Can you hear me? Danny asked, holding the core in his hands that a tiny light flickered. Once for yes. They're going to rebuild you. Better than before. And I'm going to be there when they do. He pressed the core against his forehead. Partners. Remember? One flicker. Yes, that a month later, the Galactic Council formally recognized humanity as a Tier 1 civilization. Not for their technology, which remained primitive by galactic standards. Not for their numbers, which were laughably small. But for one simple, impossible fact that a single human had done what no species in history could do. He had become more than himself. He had merged with a machine designed to kill its pilots, and he had WON.AT the recognition ceremony. A Sithrani observer named Coordinator Delis gave the final statement. His species valued cold logic above all else. They did not believe in poetry or sentiment, but his words that day would be remembered for generations. We searched for millennia to find the perfect warrior. We built the perfect weapon, and then a farmer from a death world showed us that perfection was never the point. Survival was. Adaptation was. Connection was. He paused. Humanity is not the strongest species. They're not the smartest, but they're the most stubborn, and sometimes stubborn is enough. In the crowd, Danny Webb stood beside Admiral Yethri and Dr. Paleth. In his pocket, a small core flickered with light. They had one. Together. And the galaxy would never forget it.